Welcome back. Let's bring you now to this discussion. A teenage pregnancy has once again claimed the headlines in South Africa after numerous teenagers welcomed Christmas babies. According to the World Health Organization's 2024 figures, South Africa has one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancies, with nearly 1 in 4 girls giving birth before the age of 20. The Health Department reported about 90 teenage mothers this year compared to last year's 145. The Department of Women, Youth and Children with Disabilities has prioritized addressing the socio-economic factors that contribute to the phenomenon. Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga joins us now for more. Minister, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for your time. So of most concern, of course, with this particular story is that of the more than 500 babies born in the first 12 hours of Christmas Day, almost 90 of these babies are from teenage mothers, one as young as 13 years old. Let's first get your reaction on this, especially when you consider that nearly 1 in 4 girls are giving birth before the age of 20 in this country.
Let me appreciate that you are having us on your show, but also wish South Africans a safe, blessed and joyous festive season. And we're happy that we've gone past Christmas and we're looking forward to New Year. I think I must first congratulate the MECs that visited hospitals to give us all these statistics, but of course the comments that they have made. We are extremely concerned as the department. First, of course, I wish you could also have the Department of Social Development, because for now children fall under the Department of Social Development, but we receive them as young persons in South Africa from the age of 16, which of course means that there's an overlap between our responsibility as a department and that of the social development. But we're extremely concerned that as a department we're receiving children who already are mothers at the age of 16 because they fall pregnant at the age of 10, at the age of 11, at the age of 14, as the statistics is indicating that. And this is something that we should all be ashamed of as South Africans, that children who are minors and real children from the age of 10 to the age of 14 are giving birth to children. Some of them, they don't even see their first menstruation. They fall pregnant when for the first time they're supposed to get their first menstruation, to the extent that when then they deliver and the nurses and midwives give them pads to use, they don't know how to use a pad because they've never used a pad. Instead, they fell pregnant before they saw their first menstrual cycle. So this is something that we should be ashamed of as a country, because that is nothing but statutory rape. The numbers are actually telling us that we have got a lot of statutory rape in South Africa that is happening, up to about 2,325, 28, for instance, of children who fall pregnant between the ages of 10 to 14. That is rape and nothing else. And these men who impregnate these children are supposed to be in jail.
You would appreciate, Minister, and I'm glad you pointed out, the reference of working with various departments, including social development, that when you do then receive the youth, many of whom are teenage mothers, that the interventions that you and these departments have is crucial at any stage of their young child's life. So speak to us, Minister, about those interventions that you have that are working very closely with the Ministry of Health, the Ministry also of Social Development, as you pointed out, because what we are seeing here is that in the case of the 13-year-old, as an example, there was a public outcry before we saw that 28-year-old man being arrested, obviously for statutory rape, that there is somewhat a lack of coordination between the various ministries, but correct me if I'm wrong, but this has now led to this crisis. Of course, we're not absolving the community for its role in this particular scourge, but just speak to me about those interventions that you have with these departments, particularly as the ministry that gets these children, most of whom are young mothers.
In fact, it's, as you have said, it's the Department of Health, the Department of Social Development, the Department of Basic Education, the Justice cluster as a whole should, in fact, is part of what we're supposed to do. But of course, other departments, communities, and so on, because families and so on, because this thing happened within families. So yes, as the department, we are coordinating. We're supposed to coordinate all these departments. We are supposed, because this also is nothing but gender-based violence in these teenage pregnancies, particularly for young children. There is also the issue of incest that give rise to these children falling pregnant, being impregnated by their uncles, but also by their biological fathers. And because these things, they remain in families, they are looked by families as family shames, and they sit on them and they don't go to court, because this woman, who is the mother of the child who's impregnated by his father and the husband, do not know what to do. And therefore, it's a matter that talks to socio-economic issues, women who will remain in such abusive relationships and do not know what to do, because the father, who is an abuser of the wife, but also the abuser of the daughter, is the breadwinner, and the whole family will instruct this woman not to tell anyone and keep this as the family shame and the family matter. And that is why some of these things do not see the light of the day in courts because of this. But I believe that working together with the Department of Health, I think it's important that these things get reported, because when there is pregnancy, DNA is easy. You don't even have to go out and get any information. It's a matter of DNA to say who is the father. Once the father is identified, then that is a statutory rape, and that father can actually stand, that case can stand the test of time in court, because the DNA will have actually pointed to the father. These women, these children that, for instance, will fall pregnant in KZN, who gave birth at the age, 3 of them at the age of 15, the statistic says that during the Christmas day, the statistic says that they fell pregnant at the age of 14. And that is statutory rape. And those men, the 19-year-old and the 23-year-old, should face the music. They should actually go to court. And these cases must be reported. Now they are children. They can link them through DNA. So it shouldn't be difficult to say, no, they are going to run away and say they're not the fathers. There is DNA.
Yeah, and Minister, you raise a very important point. We are running out of time, but just on that point about the courts, in as far as helping these young people, go through that process, does the ministry, your ministry, advocate for, the cases that do make it to court, or do you leave them to the prosecution authorities to ensure some form of justice? Because unfortunately, as you and I sit here, not a lot of these cases make it to court, even with that DNA.
In fact, if you look at the numbers, the prevalence study indicated that it's only 2% that goes of such cases that get reported, but it's about the gender-based violence as such. Generally, it's only 2%, and only 4% of women who are violated and abused seek medical aid. And therefore, even with the Tutuzela centers that we have, even with our department assisting them to actually get such help, but it will be very few of them. When you talk to nurses to say, but why do you keep these and don't report them to police? They say we do report, but families themselves, they actually withdraw these cases. And I think it's something that we need to look into, because if somebody is murdered, when somebody is murdered, it is the state that opens the case, and therefore you can't withdraw a murder case. And I think even with statutory rape, it's important that it is a state case, so that whoever else will come as a witness. So it's not a withdrawable case. And I think that is an important point that we need to make, so that these things can be stopped. Because believe you me, these children do not make it in education, because suddenly they are youth, they are young mothers. They have a responsibility of being mothers when they are mothers. probably we've not looked at things. We don't have the statistics as yet, something that we need to talk to the Department of Health about, to say, are we not having vaginal fistulas in South Africa now, that these old men sleep with children who are not ready at all to have sex, and do they not tear them, and these do not get reported, or if they are reported, probably they are repaired, because in South Africa we have such facilities.
Yeah.
Are we not having such barbaric old problems that used to happen when women delivered at home, even if it was for the first time that they gave birth to children? I think it's things that we need to look at, but more than anything, as we say, this cannot be a one department matter. It cannot be a government matter, because, for instance, the statistics tells us that during holidays such as this, gender-based violence increases, and it can't be. People must live in peace. People must be happy, and children must be happy and safe within families. And uncles must not see their own nieces as women and sex objects. They must go out and get women and have girlfriends, and of course out of agreement, then they can sleep with them.
Yeah,
but they
Minister,
can't see their own nieces as sex objects.
Obviously, a big conversation here, Minister. Thank you so much, though, for those insights. Of course, we have run out of time, unfortunately. Minister of Youth, Women and Children with Disabilities there, Sindisiwe Chikunga, responding to this horrific statistics that have just come out of teenage mothers.